Hello everyone, welcome to Ielts Tips. Today we are looking at the speaking task. In the speaking tasks, we want to look at the structure and the nature of the task. It is speaking, and it has to do with the way you comport yourself, the way you present yourself. It's actually a conversation between you and your examiner. But this conversation, it's actually in 4 parts. The 4 parts, I say the preamble, the part 1. Preamble is actually the ID check. If you like, call it greetings, exchange of pleasantries between the candidates and the examiner. And from there, the examiner begins to note you, to score you. Preamble, first part. Then I have what I call the part 1, the real part 1. It's going to be question and answer between the examiner and the candidates. This will just take like 2 to 3 minutes because the whole exercise will have to take place in 14 minutes. From the preamble to part 3 must be in 14 minutes. The time is actually regulated by the examiner. It controls you when you are to stop answering a particular question. It gives the next order for you to respond. So, the part 1 will take 2 to 3 minutes. Part 2 is going to be a talk. That talk may be on social contexts. The examiner may ask you different questions bordering on your own personal self. Maybe where you work, why you choose to work where you're working, why you choose to live where you were working before. Depending, the examiner at his discretion will take you up on some of those things. So, after speaking for 1 or 2 minutes, you have additional 1 minute as rider minute, if you like. That question may arise for that 1 minute, maybe from what you have said. Question from you, question from the examiner. The last part, which is part 3, is actually the discussion part, where you spend 5 minutes. You are discussing on a given topic. Your examiner can give you a topic that borders on internet, computer literacy, whichever way, academic, educational question, agriculture, will just bump on you to speak for about 5 minutes uninterrupted. And when you speak, your examiner notes your scores. The next thing I want to talk about is the nature of the speaking task. What should be the comportment of candidates during speaking tasks? Many candidates, face-to-face with examiner, will be fidgeting, scared, will not be able to look straight into the examiner's face. But I assure you, speaking task is so interesting that you just have to take it as it comes. As the question flows from the examiner, you address the question with the right attitude and the right mood. For example, you are asked to talk about yourself. You are asked to talk about the place you work. Should that extract fear? No. Should that bring about being fidgeting? No. It's your own story, and you should be able to say it better. Where the issue is going to be will probably be in the grammar, in the vocabulary, in the fluency, in the pronunciation, which we promise to take in our next speaking task class. On that note, I want to wish you a good day. Thank you. Bye. In the speaking task today, we want to look at the marking criteria. What are the criteria that your examiner, even though you're sitting face to face, will be using to grade you? Number 1 here is fluency and cohesion. Fluency, the way you are able to operate on the English language flawlessly. You flow in normal conversation. You flow without any hitch, except the examiner is saying stop. You're rolling on. And it's the examiner that will be saying, oh, that's okay. We'll move to the next thing. And that's all. Then cohesion. What's it about cohesion again? You must make sure you coordinate whatever you are saying. It's not that you'll be saying something else in sentence 1. And by the third sentence, we have lost focus of what you said in sentence 1. No. It must follow. It must follow. Sentence 2 will have to follow sentence 1. Sentence 3 will have to follow sentence 2. In that, we won't lose touch of the idea you are passing across to the examiner. The second thing we want to look at here is the vocabulary. This is your word usage, the way you manipulate words. Appropriate use of English vocabulary will earn you mark. May I say this, that each of these criteria takes 25% of the total score. So they actually have equal score. Fluency and cohesion will take 25%. Vocabulary, 25%. Grammar, 25%. And your pronunciation, 25%. So don't forget, appropriate use of vocabulary will earn you more mark. Some people, they want to speak big words, big English words. But those words, at times, are not appropriate. If you don't use them appropriately, they will actually drop your score, drop your gradings, drop your mark. But if you use them appropriately, of course, it will earn you good marks in vocabulary. Grammar. Here again, we come. In grammar, we'll focus on the concord, in tense and number. You must be very careful because this is actual conversation. It is a discourse, and your examiner is actually looking at your face, eyeball to eyeball. You know, I used to have candidates in the time past who will be feeling uncomfortable sitting face to face with their examiner. They will be scared, but not anymore. Look into your examiner's eye, face to face, eyeball to eyeball. Communicate from your heart to your examiner. Let him express himself. Let him give a feedback in terms of nod or acknowledgement of what you are saying, of understanding what you are saying. So in grammar, we look at the concord and we look at in form of tense and number. Don't forget the tense. In your sentence, if you are asked a question about the past, what you have done before, I'm sure you are not expected to be using present tense to answer such question. You should know that that question actually predictates that you have to use past tense in expressing yourself. If you are asked question about the future, you should know that it should be future tense that you will use. You will, I shall, I will, I may. It will not be, I would have. It will not be, I should have. It will not be, I had. No. You use future tense. Also, in terms of number agreement, don't forget, singular noun will take singular verb. So in your expression, plural noun will take plural verb. Don't forget this. Let this be in your mind. Let this rule your mind. Rule the conversation you're ditching out to your examiner. The last one I want to talk about here is the pronunciation. Don't forget I've told you something. This is not a stage to impress any examiner. Yes, we need more mark in this pronunciation. But the examiner is also aware that you are a second language user. And as a second language user, you cannot just suddenly acquire the competence of a native speaker of English language. More so, you have passed the age of puberty. Bear that one in your mind. But I'm going to advise you, as my candidate, use words that will only assure the examiner that you actually know what you are actually dishing out. For example, in the word schedule, the Americans will prefer to say schedule, but in British English, we prefer to say schedule. Then if it's now schedule, I'm sure by the time you are able to distinguish between the way noun is pronounced and verb is pronounced, your examiner will be assured and will know that you actually know what you're actually dishing out. And I'm sure with all these tips, your knowledge is going to carry you beyond 7 points, beyond band 8. I'm expecting band 9 in speaking. On this note, I want to thank you very much for listening to this class again. We move on to the next stage in our next class. Thank you very much and bye.